The Dark Secrets of Pollsmoor Prison, full documentary. Welcome to Mzansi Origins, where we uncover the untold stories of South Africa's most notorious institutions. Today, we take you inside Pollsmoor Prison, a place as infamous as it is mysterious. Located in Cape Town, this maximum security facility is known for housing some of the country's most dangerous criminals. But beyond the razor wire and concrete walls lies a world of corruption, violence, and despair. Why does Pollsmoor Prison hold such a grip on South Africa's collective imagination? What dark secrets lurk in its overcrowded cells? And is there any hope for redemption within its walls? Join us as we unravel the truth about one of South Africa's most feared prisons. From its grim history to its present-day struggles, this is the story of Pollsmoor Prison like you've never heard it before. A history of infamy. Pollsmoor Prison's story begins in 1964, when it was established to replace the aging Rowland Street Prison. From the start, it was envisioned as a modern facility capable of housing a growing number of inmates. But it didn't take long for Pollsmoor to gain a reputation for brutality. One of its most infamous chapters unfolded during apartheid, when the prison became a holding ground for political dissidents. Nelson Mandela himself spent time here after being transferred from Robben Island in 1982. Mandela described the prison as a gateway to hell, citing the inhumane conditions and the psychological toll of confinement. Even after apartheid ended, Pollsmoor's legacy of violence and neglect persisted. Overcrowding became a defining feature, with cells designed for 19 inmates, often holding more than 80. As the years went on, Pollsmoor's reputation grew darker, becoming synonymous with gang activity, corruption, and systemic failure. Overcrowding and the crisis within. Pollsmoor Prison is designed to hold around 4,000 inmates, but at its worst, it has housed more than double that number. This extreme overcrowding has turned the facility into a ticking time bomb. Inmates are crammed into cells like sardines, with barely enough space to lie down. Basic necessities such as food, water, and medical care are stretched to the breaking point. The lack of space and resources creates a breeding ground for disease. Tuberculosis and HIV/AIDS are rampant, spreading rapidly in the unsanitary conditions. The prison's healthcare system is ill-equipped to cope, leaving many inmates to suffer and die without adequate treatment. This overcrowding crisis has far-reaching consequences. Guards are outnumbered and overwhelmed, unable to maintain control. Tensions among inmates run high, leading to frequent outbreaks of violence. For many, life in Pollsmoor is not about rehabilitation, it's about survival, a breeding ground for gangs. Pollsmoor Prison is notorious for its deep ties to South Africa's gang culture. The prison is essentially controlled by three dominant gangs, the 26, 27, and 28. Each gang has its own hierarchy, rules, and areas of influence within the prison. New inmates are often forced to join a gang for protection, whether they like it or not. Refusing to join can make you a target for violence, extortion, or worse. Gang leaders wield immense power, controlling everything from smuggling operations to access to basic amenities like food and blankets. These gangs don't just rule the prison, they extend their influence far beyond its walls. Many of South Africa's street gangs trace their origins back to Pollsmoor, making it a hub for organized crime. For the inmates caught in this system, breaking free is almost impossible. The cycle of gang violence begins in Pollsmoor and reverberates throughout South Africa. The smuggling economy. Pollsmoor Prison operates a shadow economy fueled by smuggling and corruption. Within its walls, almost anything can be bought for a price. Drugs, cell phones, weapons, and even basic items like extra food or cigarettes circulate among inmates. This black market is controlled by the prison's powerful gang networks, who use smuggling as a means to exert control and profit. The methods used to smuggle items into the prison are both ingenious and brazen. Some contraband is thrown over the prison walls in carefully coordinated drops. Others are brought in by corrupt staff members who receive bribes in exchange for their cooperation. Visitors are also sometimes coerced or blackmailed into carrying illicit items during their visits. The smuggling economy creates a vicious cycle. Inmates who can't afford to pay are forced into debt, often leading to violence or further criminal activity to settle their dues. This underground trade undermines any attempts at rehabilitation, ensuring that Pollsmoor remains a place where crime thrives rather than diminishes. Violence behind bars. Life in Pollsmoor prison is marked by violence. With overcrowding, gang rivalries, and limited oversight, fights and assaults are a daily reality. The most vulnerable inmates are often targeted, either as victims of gang initiations or as pawns in the power struggles that define prison life. Weapons are commonplace, ranging from homemade knives to more sophisticated contraband smuggled in from outside. Assaults often occur during moments of chaos, such as meal distributions or cell inspections, when guards are unable to maintain control. For some inmates, violence becomes a means of survival, a way to establish dominance or protect themselves. This environment leaves scars, both physical and psychological. Many inmates leave Pollsmoor more hardened and violent than when they arrived. For those hoping for rehabilitation, the pervasive violence acts as a significant barrier, perpetuating cycles of crime and despair. Guards under siege. Working as a guard at Pollsmoor prison is a dangerous and thankless job. Outnumbered and underpaid, guards face daily threats to their safety. Many are ill-equipped to handle the extreme challenges posed by the overcrowded and gang-infested environment. Corruption is a pervasive issue among the prison staff. Some guards accept bribes to smuggle contraband, while others turn a blind eye to gang activity out of fear or resignation. The lack of proper training and support further exacerbates the situation, leaving guards vulnerable to manipulation and intimidation. Despite these challenges, there are guards who genuinely want to make a difference. They form relationships with inmates, offer guidance, and strive to maintain order in an impossible situation. These individuals are the unsung heroes of Pollsmoor, fighting to uphold a semblance of justice in a system that often seems beyond saving. Stories of redemption. Amid the chaos and despair of Pollsmoor prison, there are glimmers of hope. Some inmates manage to turn their lives around, using their time behind bars as an opportunity for self-reflection and growth. Educational programs, though limited, provide a lifeline for those determined to build a better future. One such story is that of an inmate who learned to read and write while serving a lengthy sentence. Against all odds, he completed his matric and began mentoring younger inmates, helping them navigate the challenges of prison life. His story serves as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, even in the darkest of places. These stories of redemption are rare but powerful. They remind us that even in a place as grim as Pollsmoor, change is possible. With the right support and resources, inmates can break free from the cycles of violence and criminality that define their lives. The psychological toll of incarceration. Pollsmoor prison isn't just a place of physical confinement, it's a psychological battlefield. For many inmates, the mental strain begins the moment they enter the facility. The overcrowded cells, constant threat of violence, and lack of privacy create an environment where stress and anxiety thrive. Over time, this relentless pressure can break even the strongest individuals. One of the most profound impacts is the loss of identity. Inmates are stripped of their individuality, reduced to numbers and labels. The dehumanizing conditions, combined with the lack of meaningful activity, lead to feelings of worthlessness and despair. Mental health issues such as depression, PTSD, and even psychosis are common, but access to psychological support is almost non-existent. For those with pre-existing conditions, the environment only exacerbates their struggles. Suicides and self-harm incidents are disturbingly frequent, often driven by hopelessness and isolation. Some inmates attempt to cope by joining gangs, seeking protection and a sense of belonging. Others retreat inward, shutting themselves off from the harsh reality around them. Rehabilitation programs aimed at addressing these issues are limited and underfunded, leaving many inmates without the tools they need to recover. The psychological scars of Pollsmoor often extend far beyond prison walls, affecting inmates long after they've been released. These unseen wounds are a stark reminder of the human cost of neglecting mental health within the prison system. Disease and neglect. Pollsmoor Prison has been described as a breeding ground for disease. Overcrowding, poor sanitation, and inadequate health care create the perfect storm for illnesses like tuberculosis and HIV to spread. Inmates often sleep on the floor in filthy, poorly ventilated cells where infections move swiftly from one person to another. The medical facilities at Pollsmoor are woefully inadequate to handle the health crises that arise. There are long delays in accessing treatment, and many inmates report being ignored or dismissed when they seek medical help. Basic hygiene products like soap are scarce, further exacerbating the spread of disease. One of the most alarming aspects is the prevalence of untreated mental and physical health issues. Inmates suffering from chronic illnesses often receive substandard care, leading to preventable deaths. The prison's healthcare staff, though often dedicated, are overwhelmed by the sheer number of patients and lack of resources. Even when inmates do receive treatment, it's often too little, too late. Stories of untreated wounds, botched medical procedures, and neglect are all too common. For those with terminal illnesses, Pollsmoor becomes a place to die, not a place to heal. This neglect highlights the systemic failures that turn incarceration into a death sentence for many. Corruption at every level. Corruption runs deep within the walls of Pollsmoor Prison, tainting nearly every aspect of its operations. From guards smuggling contraband to administrators manipulating funds, the system is riddled with misconduct. This corruption doesn't just fuel the black market, it undermines the very principles of justice and rehabilitation. Many guards face immense pressure to cooperate with gangs, whether through bribes, threats, or blackmail. For some, the temptation of extra income proves too strong to resist, especially given their low salaries and dangerous working conditions. Inmates with money or gang connections often receive preferential treatment, creating a hierarchy even behind bars. Higher up the chain, allegations of embezzlement and mismanagement are not uncommon. Funds intended for rehabilitation programs or facility improvements often disappear, leaving the prison in a perpetual state of decay. These systemic failures erode trust in the institution, both among inmates and the public. The effects of this corruption are far-reaching. It perpetuates the cycle of violence, hinders rehabilitation efforts, and deepens the divide between guards and inmates. For Pollsmoor to truly change, this culture of corruption must be addressed, but breaking such a deeply entrenched system is no easy task. The role of gangs in Pollsmoor. Gangs are the lifeblood of Pollsmoor Prison's power dynamics, controlling nearly every aspect of life behind bars. The numbers gangs, 26, 27, and 28, operate with a strict code of conduct and hierarchy, which dictates loyalty, discipline, and punishment. These gangs offer inmates a sense of belonging and protection, but at a steep cost. Joining a gang often begins with an initiation process that can involve violence, theft, or smuggling. Once a member, inmates are bound by unbreakable rules and are expected to carry out orders without question. Refusal or betrayal often results in severe punishment, ranging from beatings to death. the gang's influence extends beyond the prison walls, with their networks tied to organized crime on the outside. This connection enables them to control smuggling operations and maintain their grip on the black market within Pollsmoor. Gangs also dictate who gets access to resources, further entrenching their power. For some inmates, gang life becomes a way of survival, offering structure and identity in an otherwise chaotic environment. Others, however, are coerced into joining, trapped in a cycle of violence they cannot escape. Efforts to dismantle gang influence are met with resistance and often lead to retaliation. The presence of gangs creates a prison within a prison, where the law of the numbers reigns supreme. They undermine any attempts at rehabilitation, ensuring that crime and corruption remain deeply rooted in Pollsmoor's fabric. For those who wish to leave gang life behind, the road to redemption is fraught with danger and uncertainty. Stories from the inside. Behind Pollsmoor's walls are countless stories of tragedy, resilience, and survival. Every inmate has a unique tale, shaped by their life before and during imprisonment. These narratives provide a glimpse into the human side of a system often reduced to statistics and headlines. One inmate shared how he entered Pollsmoor as a young man, convicted of petty theft. Over the years, he became entangled with gang life, a choice he now regrets. His story is a reminder of how the prison system often fails to rehabilitate, instead transforming petty criminals into hardened offenders. Another inmate, a former teacher, recounted his struggle to find purpose behind bars. He started a literacy program, teaching fellow inmates to read and write. Despite the harsh conditions, his initiative inspired hope and provided a rare opportunity for self-improvement. For many, the struggle is simply to endure. An inmate serving a life sentence spoke of the psychological toll of knowing he would never leave. Yet, even in the face of hopelessness, he found solace in painting, using art as an outlet for his emotions. These stories highlight the complexity of Pollsmoor's population. They remind us that behind the labels of criminal or inmate are individuals with dreams, regrets, and aspirations. Sharing their voices offers a chance to understand the system's failures and the resilience of the human spirit. Rehabilitation or revenge. Pollsmoor Prison raises a critical question. Is the South African prison system focused on rehabilitation, or is it merely a place of punishment? For many critics, Pollsmoor represents the latter, a facility where inmates leave more damaged than they arrived. The prison offers some rehabilitation programs such as education, skills training, and counseling. However, these initiatives are underfunded and unable to meet the needs of the vast inmate population. Many inmates are left idle, spending their days in cramped cells with little opportunity for growth or self-reflection. The lack of resources isn't just a financial issue. It reflects deeper societal attitudes toward crime and punishment. Inmates are often seen as undeserving of second chances, perpetuating a cycle where rehabilitation takes a backseat to retribution. For those seeking change, the system often feels like an uphill battle. Rehabilitation also requires addressing the root causes of crime, such as poverty, addiction, and lack of education. Without tackling these underlying issues, prisons like Pollsmoor become revolving doors, where former inmates are almost guaranteed to return. The staff and their struggle. While the focus often falls on the inmates, the staff at Pollsmoor Prison also endure immense challenges. Wardens, administrative workers, and healthcare providers work in a volatile environment where violence, corruption, and understaffing are part of daily life. Their stories are rarely told, yet they are crucial to understanding Pollsmoor's dynamics. Many wardens enter the profession with a genuine desire to uphold justice and ensure safety. However, the harsh reality of Pollsmoor often shatters these ideals. Overcrowded cells, poorly maintained facilities and limited resources create an overwhelming workload that stretches staff to their limits. Corruption among staff is frequently spotlighted, but it's often driven by desperation rather than greed. Low wages, coupled with the constant risk of violence, lead some employees to accept bribes or turn a blind eye to illegal activities. For others, the psychological toll of working in such a hostile environment is too much to bear, leading to high turnover rates and burnout. There are those who resist the pressures, working tirelessly to maintain order and provide support to inmates. These individuals often go above and beyond their duties, organizing educational programs or offering counseling despite the lack of resources. Their efforts are a testament to the potential for positive change, even in the most challenging circumstances. However, the systemic issues within Pollsmoor make it difficult for staff to succeed. Training programs are outdated and security measures are insufficient, leaving wardens ill-equipped to handle the complexities of the job. The lack of support from higher authorities exacerbates these issues, creating an environment where morale is perpetually low. Hope for Pollsmoor's future. Despite its grim reputation, Pollsmoor Prison is not beyond redemption. Efforts to reform the institution have been initiated, but progress remains slow. These reforms aim to address overcrowding, improve living conditions, and shift the focus toward rehabilitation rather than punishment. One of the most promising developments is the introduction of alternative sentencing programs. These initiatives allow low-level offenders to serve their sentences through community service or house arrest, reducing the strain on Pollsmoor's overcrowded facilities. While still in its infancy, this approach shows potential for significant long-term impact. Non-profit organizations and advocacy groups have also stepped in to provide education, mental health support, and skills training for inmates. These programs offer a glimmer of hope, showing that even within Pollsmoor's harsh environment, change is possible. However, they rely heavily on external funding and face constant challenges in scaling their efforts. For true reform, systemic change is essential. This includes addressing broader societal issues like poverty, inequality, and unemployment, which contribute to high incarceration rates. It also means investing in prison infrastructure, staff training, and modernized rehabilitation programs. The road to transformation is long, but there are reasons for cautious optimism. By shining a light on Pollsmoor's realities, this documentary aims to spark conversation and action. Change may be slow, but it begins with awareness and the belief that even the darkest places can find light.